All right, everyone. So this week, our key action for faith and housing is about a wonky but vital subject, transfer tax reform. And I am going to explain to you in a few minutes why it's vital. So our story starts in Los Angeles, where in 2022, voters approved a measure that would increase by 10 times the amount of tax paid by properties that are sold or transferred over $5 million in value. It was sold as a mansion tax, which applies because, as you can see here, there's a lot of celebrities who have mansions in Los Angeles. This one in particular, owned by Jim Carrey. The argument for this tax is that because homes have been appreciating in price really fast in LA, there's a lot of mansions that are worth a lot more money than when people bought them. For instance, Mr. Carey, Mr. Ace Ventura Pet Detective, bought this home in 1987 for $3.8 million. He then sold it last year for $17 million. That's a lot of money, even after paying almost $1 million in tax. However, this tax doesn't just apply to people like Mr. Carey. It also applies to new housing built for rentals. Consider this property right here. It was built in East Hollywood. The rent in this new apartment complex, which opened a few years back, is between $3,000 and $4,000 a month. Now, that's not cheap, but it's also a lot more affordable than Mr. Carey's mansion. The problem is that just like Mr. Carey's mansion, this still was also taxed. And what makes it worse is that the developer who built this likely lost money on it. Public records estimate that this development cost about $19 million to build and was only sold this year for about $16 million. And it still had to pay $880,000 in taxes. And so you can imagine if you're a developer and you're thinking about building in the city of Los Angeles, you look at an example like this and you say, hey, if I'm going to lose money by building, why would I do so? I could just build anywhere else in the county. And in fact, this is what's happening. Since this property tax or since this transfer tax came into effect in 2022, the city of Los Angeles is seeing a lot less housing being built. 33% less housing has been built in the last 3 years versus 4% less in the rest of the county and 7% less in the rest of the state. This compares housing built in the last 3 years to the previous 3 years. Now, the part of it that's really frustrating is that taxing new apartments is a very small percentage of revenue raised. If you look at construction that's been built in the last 15 years, it only makes up 8% of the money coming in through this measure, ULA. And if you look at how much affordable housing that builds, which is part of what the revenue is used for, it's only enough to build about 70 units of affordable housing. But that comes at a huge cost, right? So the estimates of how much housing is not being built because of the impact this tax has on the housing market is huge. There's about 1,700 units of market rate housing that have been estimated per year stopped by this tax. And there's been 168 affordable units that have been estimated to be stopped by this tax every year. Compare that to 70, right? That means we're net losing affordable housing because of this measure. That's insane. And there's a simple fix. We could just exempt housing that's been built in the last 15 years from this tax. It only takes away 8% of revenue and has a hugely positive impact on the housing market. But City of LA has refused to do this for the past 3 years. So we are asking that you would contact your state representative, even if you don't live in the City of LA, to ask them to make reform on this issue and build more housing. Because housing not built in LA has a huge impact on Angelenos, but it also matters for Pasadena, Long Beach, and all of the surrounding cities. So thank you for taking action and stay tuned for more on this issue.